if you stay loyal to your goals will stay loyal to you. And that's kind of one of the things I live by.
How did it all start?
It all started just by me kind of just taking photos of random stuff.
How far do you want to take it?
I want to take over the industry.
Are you doing the old, what's the meme with the news reporter? We're doing it 3, 2, 1. Right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. We've actually changed up the name a little bit. It's now called Let's Be Fucking Honest, because clearly I say fuck or fucking a lot. So we're just going to fucking use it. So there we go. But we're back. We've got Leandro now on the podcast. Mr. CreatedByLeandro. Yeah, I can't even get my fucking words out.
That's a great intro.
I need more Red Bull, that's what it is. Anyway, introduce yourself.
So my name's Leandro Raimundo, and I'm based in Hereford in the UK. I'm a videographer. Work with a lot of people in the fitness industry, bodybuilders, coaches, supplement brands, and I'm starting to slightly branch out of the fitness industry. I'll still be a worker within it, but I'm starting to attract clients from other places. I've been running my business for 6 years, or coming up 6 years, but I've been self-employed for 2 years. I'm 23, 24 next month, and I'm from Portugal.
Right. There we go. So, we're going to go into a bit more of a hard-hitting type questions today.
Yeah, so for anyone listening to this, I don't know anything in terms of what we're going to be talking about.
I've not preempted him. I've not told him. I've got some questions. we're gonna dig into some hard shit, hopefully. So we're gonna go back to the beginning. How did it all start?
Oh, okay. So it all started just by me kind of just taking photos of random stuff. I was kind of very much in that Instagram motivational quote era, where you just had like just a random photo and some motivational quote to go with it. So that's how I started taking photos. And the more photos I was taking, the more I kind of started thinking more in depth about, maybe the composition, rule of thirds, all of the terminology that there is with photography. But the thing is, I didn't know any of it. It was almost like it was already ingrained in my way of thinking. And then one moment, I kind of thought to myself that I've got an eye for detail when it comes to photos that I don't think people would usually have. So fast forwards probably about 2 years maybe, and when I did my first month at my apprenticeship, I bought a camera, spent like £150 on a cheap Nikon one, and I also kind of, during that time, I started taking care of my appearance, how I looked. So I kind of wanted to build an Instagram page because I wanted to be a model originally. And a bit of a running joke I always tell people is I wanted to be a model, but I found out I'm more successful behind the camera instead of in front of it. So I would just go out every weekend, take photos of different outfits. And June 2019, I just thought about posting a post on Facebook, see if anyone was interested in getting photos taken, and landed a job with a removals company. I think I spent like 5 hours with them, got paid £50, which was a lot for me because at the time my apprenticeship wage was £3.66 an hour. So £10 an hour was like a massive, massive jump. And then as soon as I got home, I was like, right, I need to create a name, a page. I need to start building up a portfolio and try and get my name out there. Fast forward to 2020 or 2021, left Curry's after working there for 1.5 years, went full time, only lasted about 6 months or just before that. I thought I was in a good spot to go full time, but I wasn't established enough. So I had to go back into part time, working in a nightclub, doing their social media. And that lasted from March 2021 till October 2021 or 2022, I can't remember, or even 2023. And when I left and I handed my notice in, I kind of told myself, this is the first and the last time I'll ever be working for someone, and I'll do everything I can to apply for a job. I'm just, where is it? It's the ISO. There we go.
Lighting.
Um,
See, cameraman always. Always thinking about the background and the
yeah,
lighting.
yeah. So that was the last time I ever worked for someone, and made a promise to myself, no matter how hard things are going to get. There's a quote I read back when TikTok was quite new. Was if you stay loyal to your goals will stay loyal to you, and that's kind of one of the things I live by.
Good quote, that is. Good quote.
Love me a
So
quote.
we go back to 6 years ago then when it all started. What was it that made you think, I want to go into photography? Like, what was the spark? Like, where did it all come from?
Um, so I've never really been the most academic person. Um, I didn't struggle in school, but I definitely it wasn't as smooth as it probably would be to like your average person. Like English literature and language, I kind of struggled, and I still do even day to day life. Um, Maths I was alright, everything else I was fine. But the only subject where I kind of quote unquote lost myself in, where I just like it just felt so effortless was art. I was always in the Mac in the Apple Studio, or the Mac Studio, whatever they called it,
Yeah.
just using Photoshop and creating pieces of artwork. And it's where I kind of felt like I belonged. But I didn't realize that creativity was kind of my way of communicating. And it's hard to tell when I thought that, photography was my thing. I just fell into it. I never kind of like actively made. I guess I actually did make a choice of trying it after I came back from that removals job. And like I said, even to this day, I still somewhat struggle to fully communicate my thoughts and put it into words. Being able to create video or photos with my own approach is like my way of communicating to people.
Okay. And there was a transition point between doing photography into videography.
Yeah, so I started off as a photographer, hence why the name at the start was LLR photography. Um, and then it was during lockdown, just coming out. I had about 2.5 grand in savings, and I gave myself three choices: I either go traveling, but I couldn't because we were in COVID. I put it towards a car, but that's just going to cost me more money in the long run. Or I invest it all into the business, and that's what I did. Sold my Nikon at the time, bought a Canon, bought a gimbal, two monitors, and some other stuff as well. Started doing video, and little did I know was as we were coming out of lockdown, a lot of PTs were turning into online coaches. So obviously they needed content to build a presence on Instagram. And without me knowing, I started offering video services at the same time this whole transition was happening. Um, so I kind of it was definitely a it was meant to be sort of thing where the timing was just it couldn't have been better.
Yeah, because there was a time as well. I think it might have been post COVID as well, and like we did a photo shoot, didn't we, at Pure Gym,
Yep.
and then that transpired into then video as well, doing more sit down talking content. And I think for you there was that switching point between like you was doing photography and like some general photos for like other businesses that was not fitness related. Then all of a sudden you became like almost solely a fitness creator, where like you just had coaches and PTs all flocking to you, wanting videos and photos, and it just really stemmed on from there.
Yeah.
So, tell me about that transition, like when you went from from that, and you got more into fitness, and all of a sudden you became like one of the, like I would say, one of the top UK videographers. I would say it because I don't see anyone else out there. There is some good videography, don't get me wrong, but I don't see anyone out there that does it like you in terms of the quality and the approach that you give.
Um, what was the question again?
Yeah. So basically, that transition, like,
Yeah.
how did it feel
Oh, how did it
going in?
feel?
Like, how did it feel like where you started seeing from that first initial investment, and all of a sudden you just saw that investment go into videography, and all of a sudden you start getting more fitness content, and then you started going with bigger coaches, and all of a sudden you stemmed up.
It was definitely one of them ones where it didn't feel real, especially with coaches who I'd kind of look up to in the industry, not because of like me like wanting to compete or anything. It was more so like admiring their work, and then working with them, it was kind of like a massive imposter syndrome moment for me.
Hmm.
Especially working with the likes of Christian and Team CGM, who are probably one of the top five best coaches in the UK. And for me to be able to say that I've worked with them, whether it's for short term or a long term, it's it's imposter syndrome at the beginning, but then in like during the working relationship and even after, it's like at the end of the day, these people are all normal people. They're just very good at what they do. And I think the
Hmm.
imposter syndrome for me is almost like it's like subconsciously I'm idolizing these people as celebrities when they're just normal people.
Hmm.
And
Do you still?
I think that's what um I don't know where I was going with that. I had something good in my head and now I lost it.
Like, do you still feel like you get imposter syndrome now?
Um, no, I wouldn't say so. At least not as much, if at all. I
Yeah.
think I've kind of made a decent mark in the industry. Um, I know there's still a lot for me to give and to offer. Because I know, I hit complacency early last year, pretty much this time last year, I'd say. Um, where I made a really good, I had a really good month, and I let it get to my head, and I just stopped putting in the effort that I was putting in. Um, so I try and allow imposter syndrome to come in because I feel like that kind of keeps me on my toes, and it allows me to still put in the same amount of effort day in day out. But I think now I'm slightly more established and kind of, I guess, if you want to say it, people know who I am, or at least have heard of me or seen my work. Um, and sorry, I'm being called for some reason. Um, but I'm definitely kind of like the best way to put it is I used to be the one kid who was coming into show days, kind of like being like almost like a little puppy, not knowing who anyone is, just
Hmm.
sticking to you because you were the one who kind of got me into these shows, not really talking to anyone, and just kind of being sort of that kind of person who's afraid to be in front of people to get a shot. Now it's the case of where like I'll walk in, people will know who I am, people will speak to me. It almost comes up like it almost becomes like a little social gathering in a way. Um, and I've gone from not wanting to be in front of people to now I don't care who's watching. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the shot.
Hmm.
Um, I'm willing to push the boundaries if it means I can get a good angle. Um, but yeah.
Good. Was there ever a time you felt like completely lost, thinking like, that what's the point, or I don't want to carry on anymore? What's the purpose in me doing this anymore?
There was two times. It was last year during the 9 months of me trying to rebuild the momentum of the business. And then it also was it was just before we started working on a monthly basis, where I think now I can't remember if this was no, I don't think this was during me working at Play. I think it was just before that, maybe like just after lockdown potentially, where I was pretty much earning next to nothing, scraping by. I don't even know how I managed to do it because like there was not a day where I was on £0. Like I always had something. The bare minimum, I probably had like £100, but somehow I managed to make it last. And that was the first time. So probably about a good 2, maybe 3 years ago is the first time I kind of like felt worthless and without a purpose. And then
Yeah.
last year was also quite excruciating time for me. Um, it was like it was. I wouldn't say I'm gonna say it was bad, but not in a sense of like I was suicidal, depressed. It was just very much like a this is tough. And I remember in August, I think I had like 5 or 6 breakdowns because of like the amount of pressure that I had, just how much work I had to put in, the burnout and everything. And at the end of the day, it's all my own fault. It's no one else's. So I'm glad that I made out of it, and that's kind of like my new driving factor is to not get back to that point in my life. Um, and that's what's you know off the back of that, I've probably had the best start to this year that I've had in since I've ever started the business. I've been hitting consistent numbers every month, and they're slowly increasing. So it's only a matter of time before I can get to a point where I can start looking at expanding the business. Looking probably different avenues. I am already trying to shift my marketing approach in the sense of working with higher ticket clients, potentially even higher ticket coaches, where I wouldn't say I'm in a position where I can choose as such, but I kind of want to position the business where I'm working with a handful of retainers, but they're high ticket and the work is more impactful and meaningful, um, instead of doing a bunch of little jobs here and there.
Yeah. Like it. Yeah. I had a really good question. So, what's the truth about being a videographer in the industry that no one wants to talk about?
Oh, okay. Um, the truth in the industry that no one wants to talk about. Ooh. Um, it's a bit like business mentorships. Every week there's a new one. And I kind of, now this might be super, super wrong, but I almost feel like the slightly younger videographers who are charging a lot less than more established ones almost become idolized in a way. Like they get like a lot more screen time via their clients. But, you know, at the end of the day, some of the work that I've seen from these people are good. But then it makes me think like, are they actually charging like a good price, or are they working for cheap because said coach has got over 50,000 followers? Um, and it's so something I've always felt, and I haven't heard anyone else speak about it. Is like I have had moments being a videographer and working with guys and at bodybuilding shows. Is that we're almost kind of left aside when it comes to social interactions, because at the end of the day we're there like as a fly on the wall catching B-roll and stuff like that and being almost inconspicuous. But then it's like even if I'm not filming, I still feel like I don't actually get included in conversations, and that's not me being like I want to be. I think just like as just a general, not a general rule, but like just as just generally, you shouldn't really like leave someone out of a conversation or like not include them in it. But I feel like because we're a videographer, that it's almost like um, we're just not including social interactions and such with clients and their friends in the industry, etc. Um, and something else that doesn't get spoken about a lot is that a lot of people in the industry don't realize how much it costs to run a videography business, yet they don't want to pay the price. And just like you have people who coach hop, you get people who videographer hop, because they'll get to a point where they're using a videographer, they get really good at their craft, they also start increasing their prices, and then that coach doesn't want to pay the price anymore. Um, and this isn't like a dig to any of my clients because they've never really hopped from videographer to videographer. And even if they have used someone else, I'm quite fortunate that I've built a relationship that good where they've actually spoken to me before doing it, not giving me permission, but giving me a heads up, saying like, oh, by the way, I'm booking it with this person. I just want to let you know because I don't want to come across as a dick or anything. So I feel like I guess that's a way of showing that I've given them such a good service and I've built a good relationship that they're willing to respect me and my time in Minecraft to tell me that they're going to work with someone else for, even if it's for a one-off thing. But for the ones who do coach hop, like it's it's like coach hopping. Um, if you don't stick to a videographer, like how like your work won't get any better. It will just stay like to a certain degree. It won't maximize because like a coach needs to warm up and get to know a client. A videographer needs to warm up and get to know the coach and see what styles work best. How what are they like behind the camera?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they just it doesn't allow the videographer to build a good solid relationship with the coach because a lot of my long-term retainers, I know what they're like as a person, behavior, how they speak, what makes them tick, how best I need to approach in terms of directing them. um and if it was just like if I was just being passed around like Bonnie Blue around the coaching industry as a videographer, um I would never be able to grasp how a coach reacts and how they behave and their tone of language. Um, so I think, yeah, another thing is it's videographer hopping.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and I was going to say because a different part of your service that I've always taken on board, and I see that this is why I see it so different is, yes, you could get a videographer for half the price, who's maybe just starting out, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then there's also the level of your services, you actually get to know the coach more in depth,
yeah,
and the level of understanding that coach's niche, understanding how to make their content for them better in terms of their marketing. Now, you could just go to a low level videographer or starting out videographer who's going to be paid less or whatever. But all they are just doing is showing up, filming it, see you later. There's no other elements to
yeah.
it.
Just like I put on my post yesterday, they just end up becoming an overpriced button pusher.
Yeah. Which you could probably just got your mobile phone out and filmed it yourself, realistically. But people are lazy with editing their content. They don't know how to edit it. And this will be a big part of it. They don't even know their own way of marketing. They don't know who their niche is. Because,
No, and you tend to get coaches who, again, this was something I put on my story Friday, was it? I think.
I mean, yeah.
Um, no, it wasn't Friday. It was Thursday. About coaches who they book in with videographers who just end up doing cinematic stuff. And yes, that there is a space for it. I'm not saying that you can't.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like I'd say that's the equivalent of being a coach, but just posting your own stuff and not your clients. Like you're not investing in your business like in a direct way. You're kind of investing in your ego as well.
Yeah. I mean, define the word coach.
Um, Taking someone from A to B.
Exactly. So if your content is always look at me, I'm in the gym, look at how good I look, what is that doing as a coach?
It's doing fuck all, really.
Exactly. Exactly. So you're paying a videographer to do cinematic looks of your training. Look how sick I am. That's not helping. That's not building a business of helping people. They're not going to know your knowledge. They're not going to know what you can do to help them. It means fuck all. But the problem is, a lot of the coaches will look up to like big influencers or big bodybuilders who don't do that, and they're like, oh, but they never did it. Yeah, but they're also on Olympia, so you're not going to match them. So when it comes to like, and this is what really grinds my gear, because it's going to be a question for you as well with people's content. What when you look at people's content, what grinds your gears in the industry?
That some of them have got like what grinds my gears is that I look at someone's piece of content. I may not even know them in person, but I've got a good feeling they have actually got a really good personality. But when they're on Instagram, they're like, "Here's how to make cream of rice," and I watch it and I'm like, you're making yourself a disservice by coming across so boring." And the thing is, like, everyone is scared, especially people, especially coaches who aren't as clued up with content as, let's say, you or my clients or even other coaches, is that they feel like they can't be themselves on Instagram. They have to be professional, but they don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I mean, take it back to when I was at the start. How professional did I come across?
very professional.
Now I just say fuck a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck, fucking, OnlyFans, whatever. And now I just get jokes all the time about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the problem is you're going to have a professional business in helping somebody, but you need a non-professional personality, which needs to match to people because it needs to relate to people. And if you're not yourself on Instagram, no one's going to sign up with you. They're
Yeah,
just going to think, oh,
exactly.
you're fucking boring. You're the same shit.
You need to
Look
know
at
when to be
Chris.
professional, when not to be professional.
Yeah, exactly that. Um, so here's a good one. If you could go back to the start, what would you do differently?
I would start building my personal brand a lot sooner. Create content with me in front of the camera because when I first started doing it towards the end of last year, um, like I was actively getting inquiries, and what I mean by that is like I think in 1 week I had like 7 inquiries, and that's like the most inquiries I ever had without me doing any messaging or outreach and stuff like that. Now people are probably listening and they'll be like, outreach, outreach, cold DMs. Oh my god, there is a certain way of doing it without being pushy. I think a way for a videographer to do outreach is very different to how these business mentors do it and how coaches do it. I think also having a background in sales like I do has allowed me to kind of have a bit of an edge when it comes to selling myself. It's a game of psychology in itself because like I said to you, like to create content that's impactful, you need to evoke emotion. You need to make people either feel shit of themselves for not signing up, or to make them feel like they're missing out, or you need to make content that really speaks to them, and they'd be like, that's actually me. Like I am that person who's struggling to do X, Y, Z, and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, building my personal brand a lot sooner. Um, Making sure I had enough in my savings for the first time I tried to go self-employed because I mean, I'd be like it would be an extra year of being self-employed, which I don't know whether it would make any difference, but it could have. But yeah, building my personal brand a lot sooner, not taking shit from people, because that would just save like time that I've lost. But it's fine because it's part of the journey. I still get a few people nowadays who give me false promises that they're going to book in and they never do. Um, But that's why I'm kind of shifting the way I market myself on Instagram, is because I want to start cracking down on time wasters and work with people who are actually serious about content and their business and growing and scaling.
Here's another one for the future. For the future of Leandro, where do you see it going? Where do you want it? How far do you want to take it?
I want to take over the industry. As ambitious as that sounds, like yeah, I think yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is the thing. Like I've managed to achieve a lot of stuff in my life, but before starting that path, I've always said to myself, I don't know how I'm going to do it, when, but somehow I'm going to find a way. And you know, a lot of people might listen to this and think, I've got a massive ego or I'm arrogant or anything. Truth be told, I'm not. I think to have an ego to achieve big things, you do have to have one. As long as it doesn't kind of creep up every day and like stop you from really progressing. Um, Again, I don't know how I'm going to take over the industry, but I know bit by bit I will do everything I can to come up with something in the industry that no other videographer has done, or even just be the best videographer I can be and really take care of my clients. And even if it's not in the fitness industry, just in any industry in general, I kind of want to eventually build a team and start serving other clients, not just in the fitness industry, but I also work with some commercial clients on the side at the moment. Starting to work within the aesthetics industry, so I'm slowly kind of expanding. It's just a very slow process, but I've noticed since like worrying too much about uploading and posting and being active on social media and actually just worrying about my clients and giving them the best service I can, it's still been paying off because putting more effort and time and attention into my clients means that they're going to be taken care of, they're going to enjoy the service, they're going to stick around, and they know that as soon as someone asks them, have you got, do you know a videographer? They know like the first person they're going to say is me, and they'll give like a good review. Um, but again, yeah. So part of that is expanding, taking over. Um, the other goal was to get to, I don't know, what monthly figure I want to get to, but I want to get to a point where I could take me, my girlfriends, and her children traveling frequently. Originally, my plan before getting into a relationship was to travel for a year, um, go to a different country every 2 or 4 weeks. But obviously, that's got to be slightly changed to obviously suit her and the children. Um, so yeah, I think it's I guess creating financial freedom for me and for them, and creating a legacy.
Yeah, yeah. So if someone was starting out from the big, so when someone was starting out, what advice would you give them?
Um, for any time you get imposter syndrome, do it straight away. Whatever it is that you're stopping yourself from doing. Um, as cliche as it sounds, don't give up, because I didn't, and 6 years on, I'm still here. Um, Build your personal brand as soon as you can, and get your personality out there, because at the end of the day, people buy from people, and that's probably one of the best ways that will attract the ideal clients for you. Because ever since I started doing that, I can't remember the last time I didn't enjoy working with someone, or that I thought, this is fucking dragging. Um, because showing your personality online means you start to filter out all the bullshit clients and start attracting all the right clients for you.
Good advice. Love it. We're going to end it off with, very much like Stephen Bartlett, I want you to give a question for the next guest. We don't know who the next guest would be, but I just want you to leave a question and it'll be asked on the next podcast for them as like a little routine.
Oh, you're asking someone who likes to give deep questions.
Yeah.
When you got to rock bottom, what was the one thing that made you carry on pushing?
Okay. Good. And I think we'll end it there then. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Hope you guys all enjoyed. Make sure you hit the like. If you want to see someone specific on, drop a comment.
If you want to see me again, share this in your story.
We'll bring him back on and then we'll ask him more hard hitting questions. So yeah. Right, catch you all very much later.